Welcome to the Dr. Stevenson Swearington Show. Today, during our show titled Girl Talk Unfiltered, Romance in Disguise, we will be pulling back the curtain on the performance that can make illusions feel like intimacy. The question is, did you fall in love with who they really are or who they represented? Hi, I'm Dr. Stevens, your host. Thank you for tuning into Season 3, Episode 4 of the Dr. Stevens and Swearington Show. Along with me is the co-host, Coach Yava Swearington.
Hello, viewers, and welcome. It's your girl, Coach Swearington here. We're excited to bring to you Season 3, Episode 4, Girl Talk Unfiltered, Romance in Disguise. Have you been there? Well, some of us have, and some of us haven't. So go ahead and grab your favorite latte, get comfy, and let's discuss some real heartfelt truth, beliefs, and realities. Now, today we're going to have a special guest, Reverend Judy Richburg. Reverend Judy, tell us, the audience, about yourself.
Oh, hello. I'm Reverend Judy. I like to say just Judy. I am a sister, mother. I just like to represent myself as a friend. And so I'm just looking forward to this discussion, joining in with Dr. Stevens and Coach Swearington. I'm just excited to be here.
And we're excited to have you. And thank you. Today, we're talking about romance in disguise. Did you fall in love with who they are or who they pretended to be? Sometimes love doesn't show up honestly. It arrives dressed in charm, consistency, and carefully curated behavior. Coach Yava.
Well, this topic hits close to home. Right on the temple of feeling my body getting warm just to be in the same room with a man. To my heart screaming, yes, baby, yes, indeed. The heart knows what it wants and the mind just follows. Everything just feels right. It comes down to, don't let this feeling stop. Y'all remember how that felt when your heart just started fluttering because someone was just a little too close? And all you knew was that you just wanted to experience whatever you was going to experience. Anybody else know about that? Let's talk about it.
Well, what happens when the mask slips and you realize the person you gave your heart to was showing you a version of themselves designed to win you over and to sustain you, but it was only them showing up with their pretenders out front. Let me ask you, Coach Judy, what do you think happens when somebody shows up with their representatives? How do you respond to that?
Well, I'm looking for authenticity, right? So I want you to show up with your true self. Falling in love with a version of someone that isn't real is only going to end up with heartbreak.
Coach Yava.
I agree with Reverend Richburg. You have to be authentic because, I think I can smell something that's not too authentic right away. It just feels not right. I'm very emotional. And so when you get a little too close to me, your conversation might not even be right. It's just signals that just start popping off. And so I really need a person, or should I say a man, to show up in his authentic self. And I'm waiting for that representation of him to show me. So that's kind of how I feel about that.
The thing I like when I meet someone, one of the things I always ask them, and they really can't tell you, like, are you showing up with your representative of this the true you? Because when people first show up, they're good, they're sweet, they're kind. Men will put on the chivalry, open the doors for you. And how long do that representative stay around? When I met my husband, he was opening all the doors, and he still do. But I asked them, is this really you, or this your representative? Because representatives can only stay for so long, then they disappear.
You know, the way I feel about that is, in the beginning, this is just my thought and my experience. In the beginning, everybody trying to show their best self. You know, they are
Yes.
trying, especially if they see something they want, male or female. You know,
Hmm.
we're not showing our best self. You want a man to be like, oh no, not her. You know, and same thing for the man. He trying to be his best self too because he saw something he likes or that he may desire to get to know. So for me, I just think that we all come with putting our best face forward when we are interested in, trying to meet or greet someone to get to know them better. So, and then it's not until we get the opportunity to get to mesmerize or have a date or a good conversation and we go out on dates and then we date for a while and then we hanging out and then next thing you know, oops, you're dating me, I'm dating you, are we together, are we one, kind of thing. And then we wait, or the man or the woman waits until the heart starts saying, I want you around a little bit longer. And then it's not until we get the heart, or at least we think we got the heart, where somebody feels like, oh, I'm in love with him or her. And then that's when things tend to change. That's what I
On
think.
that note, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hey, it's your girl coach Lady Mia, asking you to join the conversation on the SNS show, hosted by executive producers Dr. Michelle Stevens and Coach Yava Swearington, as they share in-depth conversations on relationships, health and wellness, important issues in our society, to the highs and lows of surviving everyday life. Streaming live on YouTube at DRSNS Show. That's DRSANDSSHOW. Monthly every fourth Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. A conversation you don't want to miss. Also, don't forget to visit them online at www.drsnsshow.com.
Welcome back. We're going to continue this conversation when the representatives show up. One thing we all do, as Coach Yava say, we're going to put our best foot forward. You do. You heard that saying, first impressions are the most important impressions. And the one thing I like to say, be your true, as Reverend Judy said, authentic self. You want to be your true self because when the representatives leave, the real person is going to show up. But if you show up as who you truly are in the beginning, then you can't fool anyone. So we're going to go into this next conversation, dating the representative. Coach Yava.
Yeah. Dating the disguise here. This is the man who hangs on the phone with you for hours. Y'all remember those days? It's been a long time since I've been there, but the man who checks on you in the morning, midday, and after work, he hugs on the phone. He talks to you all night for hours. This representative here. So this is the man that's sending you flowers, fixing your car, buying you gifts. This disguise is so attentive. He's just doing everything you need him to do. You can depend on him until he has captured, like I said before, your heart. That's how I feel about dating the representative.
The one thing I say, as Coach Java said, all the niceties that you do for each other. Because when you first dating, as she said, fixing the car, you want to hang out there while he's fixing that car. You want to give him the conversation. Those the early stage. But how often they show up, they show up polished, the version of their best selves, being agreeable, tentative. For what happens when those representatives leave? Because you can only pretend but for so long. Reverend Judy.
Yes. And the interesting thing is that when you're around them and around family, the family will say, do you really know the real him? Has he really showed you who he is? They just come with the mask, showing the best self. And sometimes, it's good when they can sustain it, but everyone's not fortunate to do that. We just feel that we have to, whether it's fake hair, or other hair. I shouldn't call it fake, purchased hair, or other implements that we use to beautify ourselves, whether it's a man or a woman. But once you take off that mask, the mask is off and the true self comes out. And the hope is that the mask will come off quickly. Don't let me live with it for 4 months, 6 months, a year, and then you're going to show me some other person or another personality. Or I hear little gossips, or a little birdie tells me, well, has he shown you this side of him? Do you really know him? You know, Sometimes it just takes time.
Well, you said something about, the hair, wearing of the hair, wearing of the makeup, and that is just the way of today of society. Myself, I wear wigs, I wear we call it protective styles these days, braids, I
Mhm.
wear crochets, and people are wearing them for various reasons. The lashes, and when you're going into the relationship, when I met my husband, I was in transition, so I was trying to figure out. I went from locks to being all natural, trying to figure out, what my hairstyle was going to be. But when I met him, the one thing I did, I put on a blonde wig, and I said, I want you to get used to this because this is the color that I'm going to be wearing. And that's what I do now. But when you show up, you have to be your authentic self. So I was being authentically me, so that
Right.
there's no surprises down the road.
Mhm.
That one day I have this wig on, one day I don't, and you don't know who I am. So I was getting them used to it right away. Right away. But I want to talk about what happens when you think you're in a relationship. We call it the almost relationship. It looks like and feels like a real relationship, but somehow it never fully arrives. You're more than friends, but not quite committed. What do y'all
Mm.
think about that? The almost relationship. You know how when you think you're in a relationship, but you're really not in one? And a lot of times, especially women, we hang around hoping that it becomes this fulfilling relationship, but it never quite get there. How do you handle that type of situation? Coach
Mhm.
Alvin?
Well, the almost relationship feels really real because for a moment there, it is really real. You're seeing and you're receiving on both ends of the spectrum from man and woman what a real authentic relationship feels like. And the male or female is guiding you into believing that this relationship is going to go a little further than, you had didn't quite know in the beginning. So I tend to think the almost relationship is everything that you would want it to be. But then it becomes somewhere where you realize that the almost relationship is no longer the almost relationship. And most women find this shocking. I don't really see it so much on the man side, but I believe it's on both sides of the coin. It's just that I tend to believe that we men and women tend to want to move on. Maybe their previous relationship ended unexpectedly. They wasn't ready to let go and they be still holding on and they trying to move on to the new relationship and get past what they used to have. But part of them still belong in the past. They still attached to what they used to. And I call these strongholds in relationships. When we fall for somebody so quickly, we're looking for the next best step. We're hopeful for the next best step. We believe the next best step is coming because that man or woman is making us feel that that is happening until one day they tell you that that it's not happening. And it kind of shows up in all the wrong places. Like when you go somewhere, you're not introduced like you think you should be introduced to family and friends. And it's just how they greet you, introduce you to other people. You start saying, I thought this was a little bit more serious. I ain't gave him all my yummies. You know what I'm saying? He didn't gave me promise.
Absolutely.
And sometimes these men, especially, really good at making these promises and making women feel as if they're the only one, and they realize they're not the only one. You might be number two and three he did this with. You know, and it's always one person wants more than the other person really wants in that relationship. Is one more bought into it than the other person, and we just get signals, messages wrong. And I think it's a part of people not knowing how to ask the right questions, find out where they stand for real before they start thinking in their head or believing in their heart that this is something more that was even articulated to the person. So,
Or the person could have misled you as well.
I mean,
Or,
that happens too.
or they could have told you straight up front what it is, and you just have a desire for more.
Well,
Reverend Judy,
women got a bad thing with that. I've seen a lot of that
yes.
in my time growing up. They believe that they can change the man. Oh, they believe there is something so different that I can change this guy. I'm gonna make him love me for me, and we're gonna whatever. And these people really end up being like stronghold to not making those changes. If the man is communicating to you what they want up front, and you just not doing a good job of listening, you're going on what you believe is really gonna happen. You're more hurt later because they're gonna still stick to what they told you up front.
Reverend Judy, what do you think about the
Yeah.
almost relationship? Where women believe, even men do it too. You thinking that you're in a relationship until they keep introducing you as their friend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's just no responsibility, no accountability. There's no future in a situationship. But these days, and sometimes, maybe even at an older age, we just want to be in a situation. We want a companionship, and don't want everything else that comes to it. So these situationships are, I'm finding, more common than what they used to be. And they don't look at it as a negative. Look at it, hey, I'm just in a situation and it's a good thing. It's for now, like love the one you with, type of a situation.
Yeah, one of the things I think about situationships is one of the things you said, because some women and men desperately want a relationship. I look at the show Married at First Sight. I don't know if you ladies ever seen it, where you don't meet your husband, the man you married, until you get to the altar. And in one of the series I seen where the couple got married, they get married, they go on a honeymoon, they come back and they move in together. And this one husband did not move in. He actually went back to his own place. And the wife moved into the apartment where they were supposed to move in together.
I saw that show.
And he and she kept holding on and kept holding on, hoping he would get it together and actually become her husband. They married, and he just strung her along. And you can see the hurt, but she was hanging in there with hope, just hanging in there with hope. And it never did happen. They ended up getting a divorce. But it was that hope and that wishing. And I've seen that in women I've coached and women I've talked to, women I've befriended, where they will hold on to this hope that this will become a relationship. And one of the things I always say, when they show you who they are, believe them. And when they tell you exactly what it is, believe them. And on that note, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Dr. Michelle Stevens O, a certified master life and wellness coach and minister of the gospel. I help women move to healing, wholeness, and self-discovery. If you have ever felt weighed down by your past, questioned your worth, or wondered if true transformation is possible, you are not alone. Together, we'll walk through a proven process of releasing old wounds, rewriting your narrative, and stepping into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. Schedule a 45-minute consultation with me, and let's jumpstart your journey to a new beginning. You may email me at contactus@drsnsshow.com, or you may call to schedule a session with me at 866-377-7469 and let me help you heal mind, body, and soul. Step out of ordinary into extraordinary.
Hello, and welcome to the Dr. Stevens and Swearingen Show, the SNS show, The Cousins. I am one of your executive producers and co-host, Coach Yava Swearingen. I am a professional, certified life coach and relationship consultant. Looking forward to helping individuals with what matters. You may contact us at toll-free 1-866-377-7469, extension 800, or you may reach us by email at contactus@drsnsshow.com. That is contact us at drsnsshow.com. Looking forward. Let's have a conversation.
Welcome back. Our next topic, we're talking about romanticizing potential. Loving who you believe they can become, or are you loving the person in front of you, or the promise of who you think they might become one day? Coach Yava, what do you think about that?
It happens it definitely happens in the world. So personally, for me, I'm not dating nothing. I ain't gonna say I'm not gonna date. I don't know. That's kind of hard because I try to think back. Potential, I wouldn't necessarily be trying to date the potential. I kind of need you to kind of have your stuff together, bro. Okay. It's a little bit too much work trying to date the potential. I can potential other things later on down the line, but we talking about serious dating and I'm possibly looking for you to wed me. No, I can't date potential. It's just not happening. But it is out there in the world, and women do it. I just think
But you have some women.
No, go ahead.
You have some women who's we look at he got potential. He got potential, and women are famous for doing that. He has potential. So they looking for one day for him to show up because he has potential. But how do you romanticize potential, Reverend Judy?
I have no idea. You can't. It is what it is. If it's a rock, it's gonna be a rock. You can't change it. Yeah. So if you're willing to accept the person who they are, know that in the end, that's going to be what you're going to get.
Coach Yava said something.
Yes.
Yeah, Coach Yava said something. Especially women do this, thinking we can change that person, and when you really can't. And the thing I say about dating potential, you wait, you hoping and wishing and praying. So the whole time you wishing he would change, you wishing he would step up, you wishing he get a better job, you wishing, you see so much potential in them, but their potential don't make it successful.
Yeah, it's just way too many building blocks. To be a man, there's some building blocks that you must have experienced in life and gone through to take on a responsibility of having a woman on your hand or arm or whatever to go somewhere in life. And potential, man, I need you to go home, sit down with mom and daddy, and y'all, you gotta learn some life lessons, and I need you to go through some relationships too. I really want you to go. I don't want nobody that haven't been through no relationship, don't understand nothing, don't know nothing, just green and new. I don't want you either. It's too much.
We can say that because we're older. But when you're younger, you can't really. You don't want a man that's been through too many women. Then you talking. But you do want them to come mature. You want them to come balanced and stable. You don't want anybody still trying to, you hoping they'll get it together, or I see so much in them, they can't see it in themselves. That is not what you want. You want somebody who's stable, somebody who's grounded, somebody who has direction, you
Yeah.
know. And I always want somebody who's pursuing their dreams and their goals as long as they're successful while they're doing it.
And there's
Yes.
nothing wrong. It's nothing wrong with pursuing your dreams and goals and having aspirations. But you have had some qualities, some work, some success along the way that's showing me that it's possible. You know, you just can't be completely green. I need you to have been through some stuff. Now, if we starting out both green and we both don't know much of nothing, that's a whole different conversation for me. You don't know nothing,
Absolutely.
and I don't know nothing, and we're gonna go attack. This is people when you're young and foolish and you follow. I mean, we've been there. I done that in my younger days. I didn't know what I was looking for and what I wanted. I was looking at more attraction, physical attraction. I wasn't worrying about how much money you had and if you was gonna wear me, if I get pregnant by you. I wasn't thinking about none of those things. It was pure physical attraction when I was young and foolish, and falling in love at the same time. But but you learn life lessons when you're young. So now that I'm older, I definitely know better. But back then, you just ready to leave home. You ready to find something new that you can attach to somebody can
But
be.
you know what? You got some older women now that's still operating in some of that foolishness. They'll take a man
And
that
that's
they
why
gotta
and that's exactly why they're still
build a
like
bear.
today. They
Yeah,
still
they still want to
doing the
build a
same thing.
bear.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
cannot build a bear,
Yeah.
Reverend Judy.
You know, Dr. Stevens and Coach, you certainly cannot build a bear,
Can't
but
build a
there's
bear.
something about love. You love who you're going to love,
Yes, I agree with that.
period. You love who you're going to love. And if they can see in themselves what you see, that's one thing. But if they can't see it, then you're looking at marrying or dating potential. If they can see it and you're going to do it together and live the life together, go for it. But if
Hmm.
they can't see it, it's not going to be done if they don't have the
No, you're gonna
vision.
be sitting around waiting, and that's
Yeah.
gonna lead us into our next topic. And it was something we have been talking about or just a few minutes ago. Situationships. We want to talk about situationships exposed when you realize you are not in a relationship. You know, how long are you gonna be with someone they keep describing you as their friend? How long do you hang around in that type of relationship? Oh, that's my friend. She's my friend.
Hmm. Well, I'm gonna speak on this, and then I'm gonna go back to saying, this has a lot to do with, when a person introduces you to, you start seeing these things. You start, a lot of time it come by surprise because you hear how you're introduced. That's
Mhm.
normally when it shows up. When you don't have confirmation or through just conversation between two people, when you're talking about future goals and what y'all plan on doing, because you are talking about long-term relationship at I will believe at some point you have to have a direction. I mean, I need to know that you know where you're going. How can you lead me if you don't have a roadmap to where you're going that you can share with me so I can kind of see how you're going to guide our life. And so you kind of find these situations through introduction. This is my boo. Baby, don't boo. Oh, this is my female friend, or this is my lady friend. Most men say this is my lady friend. But you just sit there and looked at my eyes last night, whisper I love you with no problems, telling me our future plans, and then the next day we go somewhere, an outing, family event, and you're introducing me as your lady friend. No, I'm practically should be almost engaged because you have already told me that's who I am to you. I'm your girlfriend, looking forward to the next step.
Well, you know what, Coach
I have
Robert,
to have
this is
clarity.
one thing I would say about that because when you're dating, especially of a mature age, majority of the time, when you what type of relationship you're building. Just straight off the bat, they tell you, I'm not looking for a serious relationship. I'm just looking for a friend. Let's talk and see where this goes. I remember when I met my husband, that was one thing he said to me. Let's talk and see where this goes. And I said, okay, but let me tell you this here. And this is what I'm looking for. This is what I expect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are the things I'm expecting. And if some of those things had not begun to happen, because I remember talking when I met my husband. One of the things I said to him was, um, how long do you plan to date before you marry? And this man said to me, 10 years. I knew he did not have the right woman. I said, oh no, we're not dating for 10 years. That's not happening. He had a 10-year mark. I had a 2-year mark. Well, we haven't dated 10 years and we married. So, but you have to know exactly what you want. You have to have your standards. And a lot of times women get into these relationships and stay in these situationships because they either compromise on their standards or they don't have them.
Hmm. Yeah.
They believe they know what they want going in, but they don't stick with them. And some of them are so afraid to be alone till they will compromise and bend and allow someone to treat them, mistreat them because they desperately want a relationship.
Hmm.
And one of the things I would say is you have to heal before entering another relationship, Reverend Judy.
Well, you said something to me that struck a note about that healing, right? So an unhealthy love hides behind emotion, right? You don't know who you are; they don't know who they are. Uh, Again, going back to that authentic self, but sometimes you're hurting so much, but you want to love someone, but you're just not ready. So, who are you deceiving? Are you deceiving yourself? Are you deceiving the other person? Or are you deceiving each other? Both yourself and the other person. I think it's a difficult path to walk, especially when you're hurting. And so many people are hurting. We talk about mental health, but healing before relationship, I think, is key, Dr. Stevens. And as I look back over my life, not having a whole lot of relationships, most of them were long term, but even with my husband who just passed away, when do you start dating again? When do you start to seek love again? And some people might think it's too soon. Other people might say, well, what are you waiting for? So I think each individual circumstance is different, but the deception in love, just showing up for someone, but really not loving them and not making a commitment. I think that is just not a good thing.
Yes, for me, I just tend to think that women, especially, do not know how to bring up the conversation about how they ask the right questions to get the answers that they need. I think they're afraid of losing the person that they may be interested in, and therefore they do compromise or they just, don't talk about things. They're not sure when to bring the conversations up, and then sometimes that leads to them never asking the right questions. And I
But let
think
me let me say this,
fall
Reverend
into
Judy, you said something about love, and the one thing I have, I'm a firm believer of is that people have to know what love really is. I remember talking to my husband when I met him, and I asked him. I said, um, we were talking about love, and I asked him, "Do you know what love is?" Because a lot of people have an idea of what love is, but they don't really truly know what love is or how love is supposed to feel. I remember, I used to do women's ministry, and I had a young lady, and her boyfriend was in an abusive relationship. And she said to me one day, well, he told me if I leave him, he'll kill me. Oh, that's because he really loved me. And I'm like, no, he don't really love you. That's abuse. And, people get it confused. So you have to really know what love is, what love truly looks like and feel like and taste like and smell like, so that you know how you are supposed to be treated. But you also have to know how you want to be treated and stand on that. I just that's one of the things I'm a firm believer of. You have to know what love truly is.
Hmm. You know what, Dr. Stevens? There's a lot of people, especially young folks, they're not able to even identify with that because they haven't experienced love, and some people young are abused very early in life, and and so they can't recognize it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then they
Mm-hmm.
go into these relationships believing that this toxic or this type of abuse is some form of love. They're being loved. I mean, we see it on the news all the time. You know, same thing with like other things. You know, you belong to a gang or something. They think that's love. That's because they didn't get this from home. So I just think maybe we should do a better job as society or community at large in showing young folks. It's got to start at a younger age. What love feels like, what it should look like, and how to identify these things so they know going in the door when they meet people. If
Well,
this
not
is
only that, we have to show
right,
them, and they have to be taught different types of love.
yes.
So because just because you love someone don't mean you're in love with them. And I was having a conversation with my daughter, another young lady, and we was talking about relationships. And I told them, when you meet somebody, you have to know whether or not you're meeting that person to be in a relationship with them or just to be their friend. Because every person you meet, every person you get a number from, just because you think there's some type of attraction, don't mean you're supposed to be in a relationship with them.
Mhm.
So, they have to be taught the different types of love, because you have a love for your girlfriend, you have a love for your boyfriend, and then you have a love for your cousin, you have a love for your mom and your dad, but then you have a love for that intimate person. So,
Mhm.
you have to know the difference in the love. And on that note, we're going to be talking about when toxic love shows up in false pretense. And Coach Job, you just said something about toxic love. The first thing I want to say is we have to recognize the signs. Toxic love rarely announces itself at the door. No one going to come in and show you that they're abusive. Abusive. It often enters disguised as passion, caring, and even protection. But when you see the change, the behavior becomes combative, controlling, and abusive. You know you are in a toxic love relationship, especially when someone wants to control you. Coach Yaba.
Yeah, Doc, you said something right there. That's true. Um, it does show up in these ways, and unfortunately, this is unfortunate for us. You know, a lot of times there's a lot of manipulation going on as well. And for young folks, I'm going to say mostly young folks because the damage is done once you get older. You know, it started mostly at a younger age. These things have happened prior to. So I believe it's just a pretense of a lot of manipulation, control, mind control in young folks, and showing people the wrong things, and no one showed the person the right way of seeing it because they don't know the different signs of love or what it should look like, and so it shows up as manipulation. That's how I kind of really feel about it. They
Reverend Judy.
internalize it's manipulation, but it's internalized as this person loves me.
Yeah,
This is
it's
how they
harmful behavior
treats me.
disguised as passion.
Right.
And when it shows up that way, it's not kind, it's not caring, it's not compassionate, it's selfish, it's self-serving, and you need to run from it. Really need to run from it
But
because
also, you have to know what a toxic relationship look like and feels like. Especially, one of the signs if you're always arguing, if you always stressed, if that person is always complaining, they keep you upset. That's toxic, and you have to know this. It's not normal, and you will see people. You think, oh, that's just the way they are. They complain about everything. They argue all the time. You go to talk to them, it turns into an argument, and then you have to make a decision whether or not you want to stay in such a relationship.
some people thrive in that type of a relationship. I mean, they live for that next fight. And so, how do you help someone to come out of something like that, or to say, okay, that's not good for you? Can you consider doing it a different way, or consider love in a different way? But if you don't know how to love, we need coach, or Dr. Stevens, or someone who has had the experience to have a conversation and say, you know, can you, I think you mentioned about love language earlier. I think it was in this conversation. And
The
people
different
love
types of love.
differently. Yeah, different types of love. Like mine is communication. If you talk to me and we're having good conversations and we're connecting, that's my love language. A gift doesn't really speak. I want to know your heart. I want to know your heart. But if your love language is a gift, then I need to give you a gift so that that helps
Well,
to
you said something, Reverend. You said something, Reverend Judy. Is that some people thrive in toxic relationships. Some people think that's normal, and what happens is a lot of times when you see someone who operates in that type of behavior is because they grew up in it. And the person that did not or who has healed from that has to have standards and boundaries that they set in order for someone else to recognize and change. Um, I remember talking to a guy and he always complained. He always complained about something. It was something wrong, it was always something wrong. And I had to tell him, you know what? I'm not tolerating it because I'm not going to sit around every day and be walking on eggshells and you constantly complaining about something. So you have to recognize that that is one, a spirit, that's a character flaw behavior that they grew up in. They learned that behavior. That's a learned behavior. And they have to unlearn that behavior. But you, the person that's dealing with them, also have to have boundaries. You have to know that that is not normal and it cannot be acceptable. And you cannot ever be afraid to walk away. That's one thing I tell women. You cannot be afraid to walk away. You cannot be afraid. A lot of people are afraid to be alone. I don't want to be alone. No, be alone. Be alone. Learn to love yourself. Learn to live by yourself. Love to date yourself. Take your own self out on a date. Because when you can do that, then you can truly appreciate and teach someone else how to treat you. I'm a firm believer in teaching someone how to treat you. Coach, y'all.
Dr. Stevens, you say this and it sounds right because it is right. It sounds good. But as we know, as humans, it's not as easy as it sounds. People are emotional, especially women. We're emotional people. They don't have their life together. They don't have their careers together. And sometimes we stay in these situations, these type of relationships because someone is taking care of them. They have nowhere else to go. They don't even have enough faith or strength in their own abilities because they lack certain skills. So they stay stuck in these situations because it's the only thing that they know that keeps them, may not be safe emotionally for them, but if it keeps a roof over their head, food on the table for them, they will deal with these situations before they go out there and being homeless or sitting on the streets and they have no family to go to. These people end up in these type of situations. They won't walk away because they need the person no matter how bad it may be. And then some of them, they don't even identify. You said something earlier about, you know, you have to have boundaries. You got to know when to walk away. They don't know how to walk away because of their life not being together. Whether it's lack of money, lack of support, just those things alone causes people to be in certain situations. And that's just kind of way.
Now, see, now you're going into that's a whole nother realm, a whole nother topic.
But it's part of why they don't walk away. It's part of why they stay.
I understand that, but then you're talking about then you're talking about self-esteem. You're talking about preparation and growth, and and people have to be taught. Even if someone's staying in that situation, and I can understand people staying in the situation as long as they're getting themselves. Because I would use somebody, I would take advantage of it. I'm in this situation. Let me get myself together while I'm in this situation. So when I walk up out of here, I got it together and I can stand on my own 2 feet.
Yeah,
so
but
I
see,
understand, but you're right. There are some people who are dealing with low self-esteem. There's some people who are dealing with who have been abused. There's some people who are not prepared, and they still go back to self-esteem and faith. Having that faith and belief that they can make it on their own. So a lot of people are facing a lot of different situations, but it still goes back to taught and learned behavior. Reverend Judy.
My thought went to someone playing like a con man, pulling the wool over your eyes. I don't ever want to blame the victim, the person that is in that situation, because their love is true. I really, really love this person and want to be with this person. But the other one is running a con game on them. And the person that's running that con game or showing up with the toxic love or the false pretense, they're really good at it. They're good at playing that game. And you might not know that you're being con. And you look back and you say that, well, especially with a younger woman and an older man or vice versa, and you look back, you say they took the best years of my life. When I was in my 20s, the best years of my life. I thought it was real, but it really wasn't. It couldn't go anywhere. It had no place to go. And that's
well, you know what? I don't know if they took the best years or you gave them the best years. But on that note, we're going to take a quick break.
Sorry.
Yes. Well, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's your girl coach Lady Mia, asking you to join the conversation on the SNS show, hosted by executive producers Dr. Michelle Stevens and Coach Yava Swearington, as they share in-depth conversations on relationships, health and wellness, important issues in our society, to the highs and lows of surviving everyday life. Streaming live on YouTube at DRSNS Show. That's DRSANDSSHOW. Monthly every fourth Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. A conversation you don't want to miss. Also, don't forget to visit them online at www.drsnsshow.com.
If you have a situation and need some advice, please send us a cherry note. Send it to contact us at drsnsshow.com and please title it The Cherry Note. We will respond. Welcome back. We're talking about when love feels hard, when do you call it quits? Every relationship requires effort, patience, and grace. If you find yourself questioning your worth, silencing your needs, or carrying the relationship alone, it may be time to reevaluate or call it quits. When you know that you have to make a choice. Coach Yava,
Yes.
When do you call it quits?
Yes, Coach. Well, Doc, I believe when love feels hard, quit. When you hear your inner guides, tell yourself enough is enough. I'm a firm believer in choose you. Love yourself more than the person you want to love you. And this will allow room for you to be chosen and someone will love you. So choose you first.
Reverend Judy.
I like that. I think knowing the difference between commitment and suffering. Am I here with this healthy love, giving an effort? We're partnering, we're doing this thing together. Or am I suffering under and just enduring it? Do I wake up and choose to love you today? Or am I waking up and wanting to run away from you today?
That's a good statement there. That's a good statement there. Am I choosing to love you today? Because that's very important. Every day you have to wake up, and especially if you want to be with someone you love them, you have to choose them every single day. Y'all, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. If you have a product or a business and would like to advertise on our show or would like to support us, please email us at contactus@drsnsshow.com or call 866-377-7469. If you are interested in hosting your own show, please visit our website and click on the Media Production tab and schedule a session with the perfect production team. Let's bring your vision to life.
Hey, I'm Dr. Michelle Stevens O, a certified master life and wellness coach and minister of the gospel. I help women move to healing, wholeness, and self discovery. If you have ever felt weighed down by your past, questioned your worth, or wondered if true transformation is possible, you are not alone. Together, we'll walk through a proven process of releasing old wounds, rewriting your narrative, and stepping into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. Schedule a 45-minute consultation with me, and let's jumpstart your journey to a new beginning. You may email me at contactus@drsnsshow.com, or you may call to schedule a session with me at 866-377-7469 and let me help you heal mind, body, and soul. Step out of ordinary into extraordinary.
Hello, and welcome to the Dr. Stevens and Swearingen Show, the SNS show, The Cousins. I am one of your executive producers and co-host, Coach Yava Swearingen. I am a professional, certified life coach and relationship consultant. Looking forward to helping individuals with what matters. You may contact us at toll-free 1-866-377-7469, extension 800, or you may reach us by email at contactus@drsnsshow.com. That is contact us at drsnsshow.com. Looking forward. Let's have a conversation.
Welcome back. I want to talk about, the love lessons you wish you have learned earlier. When you go through something and you've been through life and you've had some experiences, there are some things that you learn in the process that you wish you had learned earlier in life. Reverend Judy, what is something you wish you would have learned earlier?
Think, like that good looking guy, and you're like, oh, I got some chemistry with him. I think it's better to have consistency, something that will last, that is lasting, and that we're not looking at the outside, but looking at the heart. That's what I've learned.
Coach Yava?
Well, I have a few steps here that I like to mention about that. I believe self-love comes first. That's what I truly believe. You can't truly love someone unless you learn to love yourself. I also believe that you have to have healthy boundaries. Setting boundaries to protect yourself. So I feel about that. Communication is big to me. So communication is key. And remember this, ladies, not all gifts or glitters is love. And also, I like to say, love is a choice. Don't rush it. Authentic connection takes time to develop, and patience is crucial. And recognize red flags, and at least never settle for less than someone who treats um, you with respect, kindness, and genuine care, because you deserve true love. That's what I believe. I love
But you
lessons.
know what? One lesson I wish I had learned earlier is my standards, setting my standards early. Because when you know your standards, you stand on them. Another lesson I wish I had learned earlier was dating myself, loving myself, then I'll know how someone else is supposed to love me.
Mhm.
Mm.
I've always been a very confident person, so they could never take my confidence and my self-esteem away. But when you know how to love yourself and you have your standards, then you can definitely teach someone else how to love you, or you know how they're supposed to love you, and you will not accept anything different than that. So that's something I wish I had learned earlier, and I probably have a whole list of things I wish I had learned earlier. Um, but definitely what love is. I think everybody needs to know exactly what love is. And something Reverend Judy has said, in this day and time, and all the way back to the beginning of history, mental health.
Yeah.
When dating someone, you need to know their mental state. You need to know their background. What have they been through? And you can't be afraid to ask questions. You definitely cannot be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah. Dr. Stevens, I think
Yes.
that goes back to what Coach Swearington was saying when she said red flags. I remember when I was younger, my girlfriend and I, we would say red flag, red flag. But what we didn't do each of the times is not continue. Well, we would continue a relationship, even though we saw the red flag.
Mm.
So I think looking back, if you see the red flags, you gotta halt the relationship. You have to do your self love, as you're saying, do and take a good look at it, and maybe do an about face. Turn away from that at this time. Maybe not never, not always, but at this time, it's just not the right time to develop a relationship.
Absolutely.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have some final words for our audience. We'll be right back.
Make it sizzle, make it hot. Hello, tune in to the Dr. Stevens and Swearington Show, The Cousins.
I'm Dr. Stevens, executive producer and host of the Dr. Stevens and Swearington Show,
And I'm Coach Swearington, executive producer and co host.
where all of our topics are real, relevant, and engaging. Streaming on YouTube and Facebook every fourth Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 7 Central Time. Please join us. If you have a situation and are looking for answers, email us and address it to the cherry note, and we will respond during our show. If you have a story and would like to be a guest on our show, email us at contactus@drsnsshow.com or call 866-377-7469.
Make it sizzle.
Make it hot.
And
And
we're
we're
the
the
cousins.
cousins. Welcome back. Coach Yava, you have some final words for our audience?
I do, Doc. I really do. So, what I would like to say, ladies and gentlemen, lead with love. If it doesn't follow, don't pause, don't ask why. Just keep moving forward. Always say yes to you.
Reverend Judy.
Well, like many of us, we didn't fall in love with a person. We fell in love with the presentation, that possibility, that hope, that feeling. But real love is not confusing. It is consistent. It is patient. And a mature love is revealed in character, good character.
Yes.
Well, I want to say this has been an amazing topic today, romance in disguise. And I want you all to join us on the fourth Thursday of March so that you will get our next show. I want to thank our tremendous guest, Reverend Judy. And remember, not every romance announces itself with roses. Sometimes love hides behind lessons, heartbreak, timing, growth, and self discovery. I would like to thank you for tuning in to this episode and definitely thank our guest, Reverend Judy. Please join us again and please join our Facebook group. Follow us. Ladies, if you are looking for a coach and you need to make a change, please go to our website and click on our coaching package and schedule a coaching session with myself, Dr. Stevens, and Coach Yava Swearington. We are Master Certified Life and Relationship Coach, And I believe sometimes help is necessary. Never be ashamed to get the help you need, Coach Yaba.
Yes, and I am Coach Swearington, a certified life coach and relationship expert. Thank you all for watching. Until next time. Keep your eye on the sparrow, keep growing, and find the energy that matches yours. As we would say, know your purpose, keep your passion, and know your power. Again, thank you for watching the Dr. Stevenson Swearington Show. Make it
Make
sizzle,
it sizzle,
make it
make
hot.
it hot.